G'day, Rowdy here with another game. This time, in the interest of diversity, I thought I'd try American Civil War game. But as usual, I've got buckets of enthusiasm, but no planning. So I'm basically set this up to see how I can form a large battle, and I've got carried away. I've chosen to use Pickett's charge as a rule. I've heard a whisper on the forums that they're looking at version 2, which I'm quite excited about. But of course I haven't played this rule system for a while, so I've got a stupidly large game, too many figures, and I don't really know the rules that well. So what I intend to do is run through a turn and do just recaps, so you're not watching me fumble through the rules. We'll take a look through the battlefield. As I said, there's very little planning involved in this. I basically just found a couple of lists lying around and pulled all the figures out and chucked as much rubbish on the table as possible. Let's start on the Confederate left. We have, let me see here, we have Benning's brigade lining up across the maize field. They're coming on through this gap in the hills. They've already got their artillery set up in the hill. I've got things pretty close because there's going to be no mucking around. We want to get some action going. To the right of them, we have Anderson's brigade, all the Georgia boys. They're coming on down this road. You can see their artillery coming in behind them. They've got 5 units of infantry. They're coming up this road to the intersection. You can see some Union guys in the cornfields over there, ready to give them a bit of slapu. And then panning across into the wooded hill, we have our next Confederate brigade. These boys are heading down the train tracks. They're commanded by Kershaw, and there's Hood, the overall commander. They're going to come across here and head straight down there and smash in to the Union in front of the church. Through the fields here, on the very end of the Confederate line, we have Law's brigade. Quite a strong brigade, made up of Alabama boys. Again, history buffs out there, crucify me in the comments if you want. I've just chucked this together. I don't think any of these units fought. They've just got tags on the back of them, and like I said, I've got bags of enthusiasm, but no planning skills whatsoever. So here we go. That's looking down the Confederate line. It looks pretty cool, I think, but it's going to get messy. So moving over to the Union, we'll start here on the Union right. They've been called out and they're manning the fences. The 86 New York up there and some Pennsylvanian boys behind them, all under the command of Graham. Humphreys is the overall commander. He's right there. If that's going to get in focus. They've got a battery by the church. And then we're moving into Brewster's boys, Michigan lads. They're in the Knightley house. Ivan and Penny Knightley, YP Knightley. And then up on the hill we have the battery of Ward's brigade. He's got 4 units, one hiding over there in the cornfield ready to blunt the Confederates as they come down the road. These are all basically Perry miniatures, I think. I think there's a few of the cavalry, dismounted cavalry, are actually War Games Foundry, and they seem to mix quite well. A bit chunkier, but they're not too bad. At the time I made this army, there wasn't many dismounted packs for the Union Cavalry and Perry range. We've got 2 units of dismounted New York Cavalry here, and they're under the command of Devon, and that's right on the flank. Now, both teams have got some reinforcements, which I'm going to randomly dice for to arrive, and I think this flanking road here, first on, first served, so whoever can win this road is going to come steaming right down the flank of everybody. So if it's the Union, it's trouble for the Confederates, and obviously vice versa. Failing the army that doesn't get that will come in on their access roads. So you've got this dirt track for the Union cutting through the forest on the hill, and the road by the railway track, and then obviously for the Confederates you've got that junction over in the corner, the road by the railway tracks, that road over there, and the gap where they've come through here. So it'll be completely random. Right, so that's pretty much it for deployment. I'm going to fumble my way through turn 1 and come back and give you a recap. It was a bit of a struggle, but I made it through turn 1. Hopefully I'll warm up. Let's start with a recap on the Confederate right. You can see here Law's boys have moved up. They've got the artillery through into the next paddock. They've taken a bit of fire from the Union guns, just a single casualty on the 15th Alabama there. The boys in the front exchanged fire with the Union guys that came forward. They put a casualty on and didn't suffer any. Kershaw had a massive argument with Hood and decided not to move. Tosser. So his brigade stood there and watched the other brigades move forward. Alright, leaping over to Anderson's brigade, they've come forward and exchanged fire with the guys in the cornfield. They chalked up a couple of hits there. The return fire didn't do anything at all. In fact, they might have forgot the return fire. They've taken a bit of a cannonball from the artillery up on the hill over there. So they've got some casualties on I think it's the 7th Georgia in there. He swung his guns in to head between the two buildings, and I think that'll get a good field of fire in there. These skirmishers exchanged fire. Nothing really happened. This battery on assault missed everything, and these boys here ran into the maize field and started a bit of a firefight. The 13th Mississippi was unlucky. It got a couple of casualties on them, but the Union cavalry have also suffered a few hits. Let's move on to turn 2. End of turn 2, the Confederates convincingly won the initiative. You can see the 4th Alabama come across the fence there and fell into disorder. The rest of Law's brigade has moved up. The guns have deployed behind the fence. The 4th Texas has begun skirmishing with the guys behind the post and rail fence over there. They've taken a couple of casualties, as has the 44th Alabama. They managed to shoot into the woods the newly arrived Union infantry over there, who fell into disorder, and they whacked a casualty on them. Kershaw got a smack upside the head and told to get his boys moving, so he has, and they've come forward. They still haven't fired a shot in anger though. Moving across here, Anderson's brigade has put some serious pressure on the boys in the cornfield, and they have moved out. You can see that they've captured the road and they're at the junction now, and the Union troops have fallen back through the cornfield, and they're starting to get ready to make a stand. Anderson's moved his guns across behind the buildings, and it looks like he's heading for the heights up there. The 11th Georgia is in a bit of trouble. They've taken 5 casualties from those Union boys behind the post and rail fence. Their guns have been shooting at them as well, but they've done little damage, so they swapped targets and went to the troops standing next to Ward on the hill there and inflicted a casualty. Over here, Bennings has moved 1 more regiment into the cornfield, into the maize field. He's a little bit concerned about the road to his left, if there's any friends or enemies turning up there. They actually had the worst of the firefight this turn, the 13th taking their casualties up to 4 now, so they're worn. And I think that's the 21st Mississippi there, and they've taken 3. They dished out a little bit, but they're taking more than they're punching out. The New York cavalry is still holding strong. Their breech-loading rifles coming in handy here. A quick look at Law's brigade. He's in a difficult position because he's right in the crux, the right angle of the line, so he's in danger of getting flanked on his left. Brewster, for his part, moved his troops forward again. He's feeling aggressive. I'm not sure whether to bring those skirmishers forward as well and move this second line regiment into the Knightley House yard. Looking across the churchyard, Graham's men seem well in hand. They've got quite a few Confederates coming up towards them, as you can see there, but they're okay. Bottom turn 3, no reinforcements came on. The Confederates won the initiative. If we start again on Law's side of the table on the right, I might have called that the left before, but it's the right. You can see he's got most of his brigades over the fence now. Unfortunately, it's a particularly hard fence to cross, and the 47th and the 47th Alabama and the 1st Texas have fallen in disorder. The skirmish line in front is taking the brunt of the Union fire, and they're up to 5 casualties now. The guns are in position and started to blaze away, but they're not doing too much damage. There you can see the Confederates are pushing forward across the stream. They are taking a few casualties as they come on. The Union are definitely getting the better of the shooting in this game so far. Panning across to the church, it's quite a thin position in the Union line, which could be setting itself up for a bit of a push by the Kershaw. His men are across the bridge now. He's pushing forward, and there's his skirmish line on the creek. Moving over to Anderson's brigade, and unfortunately he is now fallen into confusion. Has he taken the crossroads? Does he wait there? Does he move on? He doesn't know. Wally. So not much action here, but the Union skirmish line is absolutely hammering those boys out in the open. They're up to 8 casualties now, so they might be thinking about pulling back. Here again in the maize field, it's a firefight, but I think the Confederates need to get their reserve brigades, reserve regiments forward, because their boys are taking a hammering from those breech loading rifles. On the Union side here, they're taking casualties, but not as they're pushing out more than they're taking. The artillery went on assault. That doesn't seem to be working too well for them. There is a big gap here in the line where they've got no reinforcements whatsoever. Brewster, you devil, you went hesitant. So you've got a team of lads sitting here doing nothing. They probably need to come across and fill that gap. Ward's troops went on holiday because Kershaw was standing around like a plum, not doing anything. And we've just talked about how the cavalry's dishing it out over there. Bottom turn 4, Confederates got the initiative yet again. They've wheeled the 4th Alabama forward, but they're still not ready to attack there. They had to spend time reforming as they got across the fence. The guns have been blazing away, but not really doing much. Law has got his boys still in the stream. They're just a bit hesitant to go forward. You can see across the road there that the Union guys have lost their fire discipline from the woods. It's pretty much a stalemate here. No one's going forward. They really need to get their arse into gear, because this is where they could win the game. It's an ongoing skirmish here. No one's really pushing forward. Kershaw's desperately trying to get his troops across the bridge. Anderson has had another moment of doubt, and his brigade hasn't moved for 2 turns, which has given Ward a real opportunity to put some pressure on. He has pulled back the 11th Georgia, which have taken 8 casualties, so they're in a bad way, but that's allowed the Union to move their skirmish line forward and start haranguing the guns on the hill, and really the Confederates haven't got an answer for that. Anderson's let the team down. Moving across into the maize field, Bennings is sharing Kershaw's Anderson's doubt about the proceedings, and his boys have remained stationary. He contemplated pulling his first line back, but he couldn't get his other line forward, so he decided to just get the boys to hang in there and do another round of firing, and it didn't work well for them. Again, no reinforcements, so no one's come on anywhere. The Confederates need it more than the Union guys, I'd say. Devon's also had a moment of doubt, but his boys are in considerably better shape than the Confederates in the maize field. Ward's moving his troops forward. He's taken some casualties. The 99th Pennsylvania it's worn, it's on 8 and 4, but the rest of his boys are still in good shape. The guys in the cornfield haven't seen much action. Over here, Brewster, the plum, still has not moved. He doesn't know what he's doing. He needs some orders. The guns here have been on assault fire for every turn now, but they're failing to do much. Over here on the fence line, the only real change is Graham's formed his skirmish line up on the fence line, and he's moved his reserve regiment up because he knows there's a storm coming. These are big regiments, so I think the Confederates will struggle to break through here. However, that said, there is no backstop Betty, so if the Union line crumbles, it'll crumble big time. Let's rock into turn 5 and see if any reinforcements turn up. Turn 5 sees Robertson's brigade turn up, although the Union did get the initiative. They've come on not where the Confederates want them, right down here on their strong flank, whereas over on the left they're really in trouble. They needed the troops there, but there you go, that's the dice roll for you. Over here, Law's boys suffered some devastating volleys. You can see there that the 4th Texas is now sitting on 9 casualties. They shot back, but they didn't really do much at all. Over here, they're still stalled in the stream and casualties are mounting up. The guns just aren't doing anything and they're struggling to get forward. Further into the centre, Kershaw's made a push. He's got across the stream, but his boys have been unformed. They've taken a few casualties. They moved up. They're really putting some pressure on Brewster. He has not got much to fill the gap. Again, we've moved forward up to the Knightley house, and there's a serious stoush going on there, skirmish fire. Moving over to Anderson, he's pushed into the cornfields now. He's ready to charge. If they can get the initiative this time, they might make a breakthrough there, hopefully. They've deployed the guns in the centre between the buildings. They wanted to go up on the hill, but the Union have denied them that by pushing their skirmish line forward and putting that battery that's on the hill already under some serious pressure. You can see there's a bit of a firefight going on for the crossroads now. Over here, the 11th Georgia, even though it's pretty battered, was forced to come back up and try and deal with the skirmishers. The guns were on assault fire, so they gave them what for and ended up unforming them and putting them on 7 casualties. So the skirmish line, Union skirmish line, is not looking so strong now. Over here, Benning's finally got his act together. He's pulled his skirmish line back and replaced it with the 18th Mississippi, who are deployed in line and ready to go in for a charge. The cavalry probably should have mounted up and bugged out, but they didn't. So bad luck for them. Over on this side, the skirmish line stayed forward, but the other unit came in behind them, and they were a bit worried that they'd get unformed crossing the fence, but they were fine. Moving over to the Union side, pressure's still mounting here. 6 casualties on these boys, 3 on the other ones. They're still in good shape, but they could be seeing a charge this turn. Over here, Ward's pushed forward, but the boys fired and they lost their fire discipline. The 2nd unit formed up beside them, but got confused in the lane and they're unformed. In the cornfield, they could be in trouble there as well. Over here, they're looking pretty good though. They just took their first casualty on the boys in the yard, and Brewster, for the 3rd time running, is hesitant. He's a complete tosser. What's going on there? Here, the Union again are under serious pressure. Luckily, that Confederate line is out of order and can't do much. Over on their left in front of the camp here, they're looking strong. They've got a big attack coming in, but they've got 2 big units to deal with it, so there's more Confederates coming, but the Union could have reinforcements this turn as well. Top of turn 6, some serious stuff has gone down, so I thought I'd jump in and we'll have a quick look before we smash this turn out. Half the Union army has gone hesitant. Dirty old Brewster. This is the second time he's been sent an aid to get his act together, and he's rolled 1 and 2 and failed again. He's just a complete dribbling mess at this stage. He doesn't know what he's doing. Graham's gone hesitant. Carrington's turned up in the wrong place, but he's bought fresh troops. Well, maybe not in the wrong place because he can sort Brewster out, but he's also hesitant, so whatever Brewster's got, he's caught it. And over here, Devon is also confused by the situation. More importantly, the Confederates have got their cavalry brigade on again in the wrong spot, but at least it's on. And in here they've launched a couple of charges, panning down the field. Anderson's rushed into the cornfield. He's sent the 8th Georgia in over there before those guys can recover their fire discipline. And right down here, the Confederates have gone in here as well. So it's going to be a big turn. We'll come back with some results shortly.